Hey guys, welcome back to the episode of the Quarter Flag Podcast. It's your boy John. And not to bring you the latest in football, but to bring you content across what should be off season, but according to FIFA, it just isn't because this evening would have the UEFA Nations League. And then after this finish, I think it still have some internationals this week. And then we go into the FIFA Club World Cup, which is a thing, right? But we're gonna have a bunch of different content, and one of those is coming today. You all already saw the under construction pod for Man United. Go and check it out already if you haven't. They have literally been linked to sign two of the men that we put on that pod. One being Mbeumo, the other one being Gyökeres. So go check it out. And we'll be having more stuff coming for you guys. Today we are doing what we're gonna call the statements pod. I don't really have a better name than it. If you guys have one, please let us know. But essentially, I'm going to read out some statements for these guys, and they're going to say whether they strongly agree, they disagree, or strongly disagree, and try to justify why they feel like that. So to do so with me, like I said, it's summer content. We try to have a healthy rotation of the team. We have, as always, though, Daniel. Pat, how's it going, my guy?
Hi there. What's going on?
Then we have Shivs. Shivs, I can't remember last time he was on. It's been a while.
It's been a while. But the king is back. King.
No. And then we have you on.
Alright, so for all the listeners out there who can't see, like everybody just stood to give me a guard of honor. Thank you guys. You can sit back down now. It's all good. Thank you.
Alright, so without further ado, we can just get straight into it. So I have up to 20 here, but we'll do 10 and just kind of see how it goes, right? So I'm gonna just choose them out at random. So why we don't start with our Liverpool related one, and given that you all are the reigning champions. So like I said, you guys have to strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree, right? Virgil van Dijk is one title away from being the undisputed best Premier League centre-back ever.
Strongly agree. In fact, I disagree because he already is, John. He already I think if he wins one more, I don't think it's really that much of a debate again. I think for most people who...
Well, now I said undisputed, but I want to hear from everybody first before we get into it. Anyone on there? Pat, Shivs, anyone?
Disagree. Because
So,
I don't know. I feel like,
disagree.
yeah, just disagree. Because I'm trying to think like who the best undisputed best centre back in the Premier League is, and I can't think of one right now off the top of my head.
Because you're hating.
But I mean, like, maybe if he doesn't get another league title and Liverpool dominate the league next season again, maybe he could be a bit.
Pat, so you think?
I'm not too sure what side of the fence I'm on. Either barely disagree or barely agree. I fully hard to say 50-50 because I think that he's probably the best centre back I've ever seen. Just football, but they've been players before him. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that there's centre backs that won more than him.
Oh, for sure.
If I had to think, probably Rio won more than him. So that's where I kind of struggling to you know what I mean. Plus, it's different generations. It's hard to come. I'm gonna go strong. I'm gonna go slightly disagree because he could never. At this point, he's not gonna win more titles than Rio did. And I think there are other centre backs, Terry and whatnot, that may be on his level, but then the titles might push him into the slightly disagree part. So I'll go in slightly disagree.
Daniel, you said it was a 50-50, right? If Virgil van Dijk isn't a 50-50, it's not a 50-50, it's a 75-25. So we're going with agree though. That's what's going on right now.
I mean, at the end, obviously, all these statements, guys, are like absolutes, right? They're supposed to be extremes and try to gauge everybody's opinion, which is why it can't be neutral, right? You have to go on one side. And undisputed makes it like a very heavy one. I think nobody would disagree.
That's the word that...
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Like, nobody would disagree that he's one of the best ever.
That's very
most
fair.
people already right now would have him as the best ever. But as Pat's raised, that there are centre backs that did win more, that win longer. But I do think, like, for me, a 3 across what would be 9 years, something like that, that is still a healthy spread. And when you kind of watch, like, one was at the start of his Liverpool tenure, and then the other two would be coming on to the end when his legs should be going, that kind of adds to the argument as well. But then you have John Terry, who won a title in 2005. and then started at centre back in 2014, 2015 to also win a title. So
Exactly.
there's also longevity.
Yeah,
there.
That-
you're right,
and
you're
it's
right. I
really
think-
the undisputed word is where I have my hang-ups. Because if
Very
you ask me what I think, I'm always vocal that I think he's the best centre back that I've ever seen. But at the same time, if we go undisputed, that means the collective have to all agree
True.
that
Yeah.
he's the best.
Is there something very, like, let me just say next season alone, right? Is there something very unique that they have to do in winning a title that would have Virgil go up that much for you all to be able to say undisputed? Like, possibly, like, break Chelsea defensive record, that kind of thing. Become
If they do,
foreign.
yeah. But I just can't see anybody breaking that Chelsea defensive record anytime soon, especially with how many goals he scored today. Yes.
I feel if it's gonna be like I agree with Shivs, by the way. If it's gonna be like a if it's gonna be something to put him into that conversation, like cement him into that conversation, I feel it had to be something more individual
Yes.
than just breaking the record. Like he had to
Yeah,
start
like
scoring a lot
18,
of goals
19.
or some shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like an 18-19 kind of season where he was the best player in the Premier League and he won player of the season and
Yeah,
everything. And he won
yeah, I
man,
think
he
so,
matched the
yeah.
Champions League final and he was second
Yeah.
place in the Ballon d'Or. Like he needs to do
Yeah.
it again.
It had to be something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that would definitely put him like, okay, all right, this guy is the best.
Yeah.
But I do agree with what they say now. Like for sure, they still have a lot of naysayers with Virgil van Dijk. I
Yeah,
agree with
yeah,
them
definitely.
every day. They're always like, boy, if you put him against Duncan Ferguson, boy, let me tell you, back in the day, them striker you like, dog, you know, against Ronaldo, Messi, Aguero, all these men shut them down, and they can still tell you something, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I do believe undisputed is really the key message there. But you see, to get clips, I will say I strongly agree.
Right.
You know, we need that.
All right, cool. Nice. That was a nice first one. Still kind of Liverpool themed, but more Real Madrid now. In that Trent Alexander-Arnold will be the signing of the season next year.
No, I strongly disagree. Strongly disagree. I have said from day one, Real Madrid has a lot of defensive issues, and Trent does absolutely nothing to help that whatsoever.
Mhm.
I mean, he's a lot better going forward than Lucas Vasquez. God bless Lucas Vasquez. But defensively, that's just not it. Especially when you have great wingers in La Liga, like the likes of Nico Williams and Rafinha. He's gonna rip him a new one.
You see, as somebody who has never really rated Trent Alexander-Arnold, I strongly disagree with that statement. I think he's awful. He's like a terrible footballer, terrible person.
Oh,
Yeah, I
my
mean, he's
God. I need
trash.
to write this down.
In fact, I would actually say he might be the worst signing of the season. So yeah, strongly disagree. And yeah, he stole a career because of Jurgen Klopp. And
Really? That's why.
no, this is just bare facts. When I speak from the heart, I speak from the heart. So, but
There you
in all
go.
honesty, I do think my chefs were so y'all
It's gonna be a
know.
long season. It's gonna be a long season.
So that's the thing, where I think Xabi Alonso needs to figure out the best thing for him. I don't think he will excel in a Frimpong role as he had as Frimpong was in Leverkusen, right? He's never really excelled as a wing back. Defensively, it's gonna be an issue as you mentioned before. But when you see that first long switch to Vinicius / Mbappe, and he threw on goal, that could be our next thing. Will he be the signing season? It's still a long thing, like a long transfer window. We'll see what's going on there. But up there, I will say I will go with a disagree. I think there will be better moves this season.
Yeah, I go with I disagree. I mean, when you say signing of the season, you don't mean just for Madrid, right? I mean the whole
Window.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
whole
transfer.
Yeah. That would be
Alright.
better. That'd be
So
better.
again,
news.
pushed into the strongly disagree sector now. So now I strongly disagree, whereas before I just humbly disagreed. Now it's very strong. Because I mean, there's bigger signings. Frimpong could be a more impactful signing than Trent to Madrid. We're talking about impact, right? So Trent to Madrid, I don't even think that really puts them in the title conversation. They are in the title conversation, but not because of Trent. If you kind of understand what I'm saying. I don't think him moving
There's
there
a
is
push the envelope, yeah.
oh shit,
He's not a needle
they're gonna
mover.
win everything now. No one's
He's not
even
a
saying
needle mover.
exactly. I mean, he kind of is because Vasquez replacing him is it's a big upgrade,
Yeah.
and then you could him coming in also puts Valverde back into the midfield. That's another a big one. So I think it's a bit of a needle mover, but not signing of this. I mean, there's Wirtz to Liverpool. That's a big one. You know what I mean? So yeah, I strongly disagree. I think there's like 4 or 5 contenders ahead of him that could potentially be signing up this season. We're not even, into July yet. So there's 100
We
more
have
signings
one
to come
window
as well.
closing just now.
Yeah, correct.
I think the logic was though is that at the end of the day, obviously he's 2-time Premier League winner.
Yeah.
One of the best right backs the league's ever seen, and he go for free in what should
Yeah.
be his prime minister Real, and that does push like what value you're getting for free. In a position that Real Madrid do need, and he does solve a lot of creativity issues. But as you said, that there's defensive worries there as well, and there's the propensity to see like what Xavi does to facilitate him.
Mhm.
But I do think I want to air closer to just slightly agreeing, just because of the cost that is involved, which is none.
Actually, it's 10 million.
All right, yeah, for the club World Cup. Right,
So, back in disagreement. Thank you.
right. But I do think the ceiling that you can have with Trent is the sky, bro. Like this is, I will always maintain that I think that he's one of the best creators in world football. And when you couple that with Mbappe and Vinicius, although they might not be there based on some of these questions, that is a big combo. But cool, nice. Only because Patrick mentioned it just now, I did not mean for this to be so Liverpool-centric at the starter. But next one would be Florian Wirtz is an excellent player, but a poor use of overall resources by Liverpool.
I'll be the first to disagree with that.
Say the question again.
Florian Wirtz is an excellent player, but a poor use of overall resources by Liverpool.
She's not listening exam, way.
I'm just thinking about it. I would say slightly disagree as well with that.
Strongly disagree. And what I can say is just as let me just elaborate on that because yeah. Talking all these Liverpool questions, and I'm gonna just give all the expertise. But I think definitely is a price where it looking like you're gonna close at 118 million pounds. That's so slightly more than Caicedo and will be the most expensive Premier League transfer of all time, right? I think with Liverpool, the big factor is we haven't spent money in a while, right? It's been like a source of kicks, but we bid for Caicedo, and I think after that, the only thing we really did was we paid like 50 million for Endo, and we buy Gravenberch, and then we make money that season, and then we bought Chiesa and Mamadashvili, and yes, I mean it's something that we need. I think the real, and this is something that I think like most of y'all agree to, like the reason we probably didn't push as far in the Champions League and we lost the League Cup final is that lack of a second attacker to kind of take the burden off Salah now, consistently. Wirtz is an incredible football player. And I feel like at this point he had a Brady Bank boy. He's 22. And injuries permitted, he could be like one of the best like German players of all time. I think that's not really an unpopular opinion. He's already won like what he's accomplished for Leverkusen is crazy. So I think you can ask questions about the fee, but it's football and that's where money headed. We've seen much worse expenditures of money. And Liverpool tend to, especially under Michael Edwards, as sporting director, tend to hit more than they miss with their transfer fees. So if he's willing to sanction it, then I strongly agree with him. I strongly disagree with what you say, and I strongly agree with him. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, fair enough. Any of y'all have anything else you want to add to what you want to say?
No, I think he summarized it perfectly there.
Yeah, I mean, I could see where he was coming from there, John, with the part where he said poor allocation of funds, I guess. I don't know the exact word he used, but I'll go into that.
But can I ask though, where else would you allocate the funds though? Like considering, like let's say we get from as Neil, Cookers looks like it's gonna happen. Where else would you spend like the Wirtz money? Like how would you?
That's exactly my point.
Yeah. Let me ask you like this, right? Mm-hmm. If it is that, I'm not saying that it would, but let me say that the spending stops with those three, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously, this does come down to does the spending actually stop with those three? But
right. This is something maybe at the end of the window we could evaluate again.
Yeah, because then now the alternate scenario was that you kept Harvey Elliott and him and Soboslai was like your attacking midfielders, but you take the Woods money and you got another deep midfielder and another centre forward. That if that would have been better use of resources based on where the squad is right now.
I definitely think like it's a long one.
Because I know that you have told me already that those are positions of need within the squad.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
and it
that's
should
just
not be right, and it shouldn't be in an ideal world at the expense of getting somebody as great at Woods. But then there's the reality of what life is. And
no, of course. I know what you're saying, and I think like we have departures who will come and kind of inform how we have to spend our money going forward. And like there's a lot of talk about like etiquette and like like he's an Indian call, and then like I think we do need some depth in the midfield. But again, like that's something I think we can reevaluate later on, like to see if we do get it, if we don't bring in people, how badly we've gotten it wrong, or if we do get in people, then in that case. Looks like it's
always good though. I don't think it's a case of getting it wrong, but rather like it's what risks you're willing to take. Now, again,
100%, yeah.
For somebody like Woods, I do think you should be willing to take some of those risks. But it is only end up mattering if you had to pay the price with in that sense. You know, like if the non-Salah attackers don't support Salah again this season, is that an issue? If Gravin can't play every game again this season, is that an issue?
Well, he need a break.
And that is when those topics start to come up. But again, as we said, right, this only actually matters if come August 31st, September 1st, whenever the window closes, that this was it. You know, and it didn't do anything.
Liverpool love to kind of leave it bare bones. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. So,
But they don't have enough midfielders to carry them through the season though. Because if Gravin needs rest, then you could go by Setic or Endo. If he got injured, then you could go McAllister at 6, and then Soboslai can play at 8, and Ting can play because Soboslai is industrious enough, I think, to do that.
Definitely.
And then when Woods need a rest, you could go Soboslai, you could go Harvey Elliott. So I think is Curtis Jones still at Liverpool? He can always play the 8.
So Jones is probably the man. I still think we need like maybe one more midfielder in the mix, just because like I feel I'm not really sure exactly how he plans to use Soboslai and Woods somewhere, because like me and John had a real discussion about this. I think he'll use both at the same time. But yeah, I just think like we might need maybe like a midfielder who could really tackle a little bit, just to kind of take the onus off of our backline and whatever. Like I know Zubomendi was the profile we were looking for last season. I'm not sure if that's changed now. In terms of the kind of play we're looking for, he looks like he's either staying or going to Arsenal. I mean, I don't think there was a here we go, but like the man comments real wishy-washy. But yeah, like I definitely think we might need one, because Elliott might leave too, but Cetic is not like promised if he'll stay as well. I think we should give him a chance, but again, like up to the manager. So I think we will end up needing one.
No, I think it's a good use of resources, man. I think the Woods thing really has me thinking that Liverpool could push on and win the league again, because now there's like, I mean, me and John been having a similar conversation to this over the past week or so, but when you get a guy like Woods now, okay, how do you even set up to defend now? Because you could say, okay, we're going to go deep block, but he
can pick.
He picks exactly. So
yeah, I think that's what Slot's saying too. So,
yeah.
No, great stuff. No. That's good discussion. Both of your pause just out. I thought all it was finished.
We are.
I think we finished. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, when this can't say even happen, because we playing cheap. So yeah.
No, it's true. And I mean, we have learned that he shouldn't count that transfer done until you see him holding the shit.
Especially with Liverpool. Liverpool defining the Ornstein, the Fabrizios, everything.
Next on Chivs, selling Vinicius would be the best interest for Real Madrid.
Nah, strongly disagree. I'll quickly get rid of Mbappe than Vinicius.
So in this scenario, though, you can't get rid of Mbappe.
Right, I know I can't, but I'll keep both of them like shabby figured out for at least one season. But yeah, Vinicius can't go this season.
Strongly disagree.
He can't go. He has to retire.
Yuan.
I disagree with that. Like I think so it's actually real funny. So y'all know my girlfriend Trisha is a Madrid fan. So I literally, when I went to get this Diet Coke I'm drinking right now, I say, hey, I see all this I know, I'm a statue I know. I say, right, well, like, tell us Vinicius, no. Because, like, I just poking fun, you know? Like, for me, one thing, I have my beef with Vinicius. But I do think, like, it's his team, you know, at the end of the day. Mbappe's kind of coming, and I think there's a transfer that, I know, Shivs, we discussed this at length last season, too, and even, like, with Jewish, a lot of Madrid fans will, like, agree with it. Like, Mbappe coming in, kind of, like, it didn't really make sense. Just they had Vinicius, right? But I think Vinicius now will, like, die for that badge. And he's like a franchise player, you know, like at the end of the day. Which is why, like, I don't think you should sell him, but it's Real Madrid, so you never know what could happen. Because I think of like Raul,
Yeah.
think of even like Cristiano. I mean, Cristiano was kind of, you know, a different kind of thing, but Madrid has always, you know, kind of put that like merchandise and thing over. You never know if like they decide that this man is too much of a liability, he's not contributing enough. There's a little public forum, they might sell him. I will still disagree because I think he's one of the best. He's like the best left wing in the world, right? Once Mbappe not in his position. So yeah.
Patrick, what do you think?
Nah, I gonna disagree with that one. I don't think it makes sense to sell a world class player, or not an attacker at least. But I get what you mean because selling him would free up the space for Mbappe to play in his favorite position. I more think that don't sell him, but figure out a different position for him. I do think that Mbappe needs to play on the left, and maybe Vinny shift around because we got Mbappe through the middle. Yeah, he was able to score the most goals in the league. That's that's awesome. Maybe he's not the profile of striker that they quite need. And he plays his best football off the left, and he can be a better player than Vinicius. We've seen that. So I would like to see Mbappe playing off the left, and then figure out something where maybe Vinicius tries it through the middle, maybe he goes on the right, something like that. But he needs to play.
He can play on the right,
yeah. But he needs to play. I'll continue to maintain that Vinicius needs to play. So I say, stay and play somewhere else.
Cool.
So I disagree.
We have no idea where Shiv's going. Hopefully he come back soon. But yeah, we'll move on and let's try some ones that not revolving the clubs of the men on here, and we could always circle back to other ones, right? João Neves is currently the best midfielder in the world.
There he is.
I'll repeat that because Shiv's joined back. The next statement, Shivs, is João Neves is the best midfielder in the world.
Right now,
Yes.
slightly disagree.
I think on form, I'd slightly disagree because I think it's Vitinha.
I think it's
But I think overall,
I like that. I was more impressed by João Neves in the UCL run than Vitinha. But like obviously both were very, very good. But I think João Neves was the real difference maker, especially on the defensive end of things. So he just cut places, dog. And someone that tiny should not be so solid defensively as well. But no, yeah, that's one disagree. Do you see Johan? Which one are you going with?
I say as I disagree as well. I think like again as a matter of perspective, because Vitinha didn't build up this Champions League campaign was ridiculous. I think against Germany, he has a game obviously not our, but against Germany this week he was fantastic. For me, like while we look at it right now, I think overall like the best midfielder in the world right now for me, while Rodri ACL still mending is Federico Valverde. And that might be a real hot taker, but I really like to watch Valverde play when he's on song. And obviously, Pedro, I think this season was probably overall the best midfielder if we're talking throughout the whole thing.
Glad you mentioned him.
This little run of form here. Definitely, he's top 2, top 3. If we talk at just like this season end period. And yeah, just the way, as you mentioned, he covers the ground. He has that game intelligence that Roberto Martinez decided to play him at right back for whatever reason. But Vitinha for me is still like the showstopper. It's crazy to me that he's playing for Wolves. Honestly, I was talking about that with one of my friends. He supports Wolves, and he's just like, I can't believe we had this man at the club. For me, he's the maybe he gets a lot more attention because he has the bells and whistles associated with him. Well, João Neves kind of does a lot of the background work and things that you might not necessarily make a highlight reel. But yeah, I think it's a good shot. Somebody tell you that you might call him a little bit of a hipster, but you can't really fight him now too much.
But
Yeah, I'm on the brink of strongly disagree because I think it's Pedri for the best this season. I think Vitinha is really ahead of him too. I get why people would like João Neves' style. I mean, if you like, industry, then yeah, you might like him. But I mean, I think Vitinha is more talented than him still, or at least had a better showing this season. Pedri too, like those guys on the ball, you just can't fight them.
Would you say that those three might be the top three then?
Nah, someone
Are
else could
those
sneak in there.
three that we have been talking about the most in this conversation?
Yeah, no, they've been spoke about a lot.
Obviously, it's for this season. It's
But
not general.
yeah, but I feel Graven have to be in that conversation too. For what he's done this season, it's been
It was
been
funny.
unreal.
Our best midfielder is Alexis McAllister. Like, Graven,
Yeah,
we
no,
just get
I
all the
I
agree.
agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. But if we're gonna talk about the conversation, Gavin
Yeah.
will always get
I
ahead
understand
of-
what you're saying. Yeah.
for the whole rebranding. I think McAllister is your best midfielder as well. I definitely do. So maybe João Neves, he's a definite top 5 for me. But I think there's a few other guys could sneak into the conversation. What do you call him? Nah, actually I was gonna say something stupid, so I'll just pocket that one. Yeah, let's leave it there.
Okay, cool. Let me see if I can find one that all you might agree with now. Because
You agree with any of these, by the way? Like these, because you made these, right?
yeah, I mean, I was really trying to be as extreme as I possibly can, right? I think like the Van Dijk one. I think I would be closer to strongly agreeing with that one. I think like right now that there's a conversation to have, but I think I think that the one more, bro. Nobody gonna get to fight me on the after it. Like, sorry to say, bro. He's no pure ability wise, like strip away titles, bro. Pure ability wise, he's the greatest ever. You know? People just don't want to see it. Well, not
You see,
people,
I have been told to shut
but
up
like
on this topic.
people, but like
Yeah.
people don't want to see it, right? The Saladin Vinicius one, I do think that it ultimately has more factors than just the two of them, him and Mbappe being great players, to getting them to work together. And I think that in the time that they might spend trying to get them to work together, other teams would build in a more sustainable way, would go on to win things, would win things during the window that Madrid would have seen their current stars being set up to win. So I can see the logic in it. But I think most people, and I think Shivs would have been quicker to sell Mbappe, as he said, than Vinny, because Vinny has proven for Madrid that he can't carry them over the line.
Exactly.
Who's the other one? Wirtz, that only got, I only know if that makes sense coming on to the end of the window. If they that's
You
what
asked
they
us no, but you agree with us though.
I do think John Harris is the best. So because you know the thing, in our midfield tree, he's the one that was different to when Luis Enrique had his setup last year. He was a new entity, and he come in, and he didn't come from the Premier La Liga, Bundesliga. And he come from the Portuguese league. With all due respect to them, but went from that to being the difference maker in the midfield. I wasn't doing trouble. Like,
But you're
I
saying
think that's a
difference
huge
maker,
impact.
but is he the difference maker?
I think he has been a big part of the difference because I think he's there most important defensively because of how much ground that he covers. I think that he reads the game really well. And while I think like Vitinha does offer more going forward, I think he also does as well because there's plenty times that he splits lines, that he puts the ball forward for the front three to do what they do. And so while it might not be as much as Vitinha does it, or it might not sit as deep as Fabian Ruiz does, I think that he's just everywhere. No,
He
I
is
think Vitinha is
everywhere.
also everywhere. And I think like between the two of them and Pedri for me would have been the top three. And I could have gone to agree for any argument for any of those. You know? I think all of them have their case for it. You know? But like
that's
I
it.
thought against us and against Villa, Vitinha got marked out of the game a lot. And I thought João Neves is the one that stepped up in those games to get those results over the line. And that's something that I took away from those ties now. I thought the final, Vitinha was on the start of the show. I think, did he get my
Yeah, that final was the worst game in the whole run. So.
Yeah. But like any knockouts, like John Neves
Yeah.
is way impressed me more.
That's fair. That's very good.
But yeah, I don't think I'd see any other ones. Yeah,
Trent
Nah, I
Trent.
think that was it.
Trent's having a season.
And I think like there's propensity for it to happen, but I think it's hard to say that already. Obviously, like when you talk about transfer this season, like cost is involved in that too, right? So like it has to be like value for money or even beyond that. Let me
But
see
you
if
know
I can
what?
really find one.
It low-key sounds like you agree with all these statements, and we've
Well-
been disagreeing with you.
No. Well, not really. No. It's more like there's extreme statements, and I can see the value in them. You know, I
Okay,
can
okay.
see how there is value that some of these things mean, right? But like, I mean, try this for free. It's really easy for somebody else to move, and it'd be better than that. Who's to say that Madrid sorted out the problems this season? Halak shifts, but like, what's to stop Barca from doing it again, right? Then nobody can talk about it, even if he's free. He didn't even have to be bad, you know.
True.
Like nobody will talk about it, that kind of thing. Cole Palmer being sold is Pep Guardiola's biggest mistake at Man City.
I disagree with that.
So off the cuff, I disagree, but like I had to take some time to think about what his actual big mistake was.
I think I know
Yeah.
his biggest mistake was.
What was it?
Not starting Rodri in the 2021 final.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
gonna say the same.
100%.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
easy,
yeah.
easy, yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I
I
think,
think that's his biggest blunder.
A moment
like-
in terms of like in terms of like players though, and keeping the squad and thing.
Yeah, then yeah.
I think next year that's a conversation we could have after the season because you know this is the first time we're gonna see City without KDB, as like the main man, right? But like since they sold him though, they won the Prem. They had a shocker, which was not really like the attack fault, really, as a systematic thing. And they finished above Chelsea both times. Obviously, they didn't win a trophy last season, but was Cole Palmer really going to help them against Crystal Palace in that final? Was, you know, like, was it going to help out in the Champions League? I don't necessarily know if he would have been. Like, obviously, it's a sale where you kind of, like, he probably wishes he sold them abroad or put a buyback clause or something like that. But, I do like it's still not gonna be worse than that Rodri thing you say at Airships, like honestly speaking.
Yeah, but
That's one. I think definitely this season he make a couple mistakes. Like I think it's kind of funny because we kind of pick it up at the beginning of last season, but bringing back Gundogan,
yeah, but
really, yeah, like that was a real mistake for him. Like a real miss, like not replacing him with maybe like another midfielder. Yeah, and I think like you know in terms of like. Honestly, it's something we could revisit next season and take a look at it again and see if like we could weigh it against the Rodri in the final. But at the end of the day, that was losing a Champions League final because of this man big brain movements. So yeah.
I mean, the thing is too that we have to remember we only having this conversation because Palmer left and the club that he went to, he ended up playing every single minute of every game for them. He was never going to do that at City, right? So who's to even say in terms of his projections what his development would have even looked like at City? We're talking different role. He went to Chelsea and they gave him the keys immediately. By the way, that's something that nobody really ever considers in this conversation. He was not going to have any keys at City. He was just going to play a part. Okay, to be honest, to even go further, yes, I strongly disagree with this, by the way, if you all don't sense it in my voice. I think even selling Marius was a bigger mistake than selling Palmer. Because you keep Marius for this season, maybe you have someone that could at least score, other than, well, the rest of the players couldn't score. And he already integrated into the team. He would have probably get more minutes than a fresh Palmer ever would have gotten. As in an untransferred Palmer would have ever gotten. I think even selling him was a bigger mistake than selling Palmer when you look at what happened this season. Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that one.
Maybe one of his big mistakes too recently has been platforming Foden as the main man. But that's a whole lot of conversation. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe if you would have chosen Palmer over Foden, could be a different story.
Yeah, maybe.
We're still looking for one holder to agree on.
Do you agree on that one? Biggest mistake?
outside of
Palmer.
the Rodri final thing? Yeah, I think so. Like
Okay, how so?
built in KDB replacement though. I mean, yeah, you talk about things like the Chelsea did give him the keys one time and he did get consistent game time and stuff. But I think that's also on the coach to see the value in the player, to do that. And I mean, I think like what of Palmer that I admire a lot is his ability to take control of games and make the difference. And I think that to me is what City has missed with KDB being out. Is somebody who is willing to take charge of moments and make the difference. And not hear about system this, system that, or not pro platform like this, whatever. But have the technical ability combined with the personality to make the difference in games. And I think City had a built-in version of that in Palmer. Whether that Pep had the foresight or not to see that this is what he's going to end up coming is up for debate, right? But I think that's the kind of player that we are seeing him being molded into. Somebody who can't be a difference maker and drag a team across lines, you know? And, you know, we saw like how, again, it's Europa Conference League, right? But we saw the Conference League final, like, he was a difference maker. Chelsea was completely throwing away that game. And it was he who decided to flip the game on his head, right? And you got to give credit to the moments like that. All right. I know it's the Conference League, but you get my point now. And I can't really think of like any other player that he let go that went on to did well. Like, you know, they still in Zinchenko, Jesus, man, he didn't regret those. But like, I think like we are talking now about replacing KDB, right? Because KDB is going, and we are trying to figure out how he can replace him in the aggregate, in a sense, by signing Turkey.
Yeah.
Right, by signing on a man now. Whereas like he would have to spend money if it was Palmer now, you know?
Yeah, but we hoping that Palmer, over those 2 years of not getting much game time, would have still been on track to be last season's version of Palmer. Because this season, hey, let's be honest, from January, that guy was trash.
It's true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Guns to your head, John. Guns to your head. When was Cole Palmer last non-penalty goal?
January 14th. Unfortunately, I know that because I did research for something.
Oh.
It was against either Fulham or Bournemouth, but one of them. But I had to do research for something, so I had to check it out. But yeah, it was very, very long ago, bro. It was very, very long.
I know. I mean, in January.
At the same time, right? At the same time, like same biggest mistakes, right? Like we're not gonna sit up here and pretend like Pep has a bunch of mistakes, right? You know, and
when you have $1 million behind you every time, you can do what you want.
What about selling Alvarez? Was that not a mistake this season?
Oh yeah,
That might be worse.
Alvarez. Actually, no, it wasn't.
Based on crowd reaction, I go in with the Alvarez based on the crowd reaction.
It was a blessing for that 2-touch penalty. So
I don't really think so though, because the only reason I lost
Alvarez went, and then they instantly spent like the same amount of money on Mamouche. You realize that to do the same thing that Alvarez.
And look at the difference of output though.
Yeah.
Right. So then now Alvarez becomes a mistake. Seems like a mistake because of the season that they had, right? But is the season that they had directly because of that? Like,
I'd say half. Half,
I would say that's a big part because the thing is when Haaland had his downturn, there was nobody to really pick up the slack now. Like Alvarez 100%. Did that for City. Kind of last season, I think there was a few moments where he just kind of put something on.
But the thing is though, when Haaland had his drop off, right? It was because that they had nothing else there. Now, if it is that City had replaced Alvarez from summer, then it wouldn't have been such an issue now. It's because that they waited till mid-season and then bring somebody in to integrate during the season. That's always be tricky.
But they did replace him, so ain't that a mistake?
That's what we're saying.
The period in which had Haaland, I think, was not carrying the load that he should have been, was when it was literally him alone.
Okay.
Define.
But we still saying the mistake is not replacing, as like getting rid of
no, there was like no other. There was nobody else to play strike. There was literally nobody else at that point.
Right, so typically,
the mistake was getting rid of Alvarez.
Typically Alvarez would be there. And let's not forget too, remember when KDB was injured at the start of the season? Typically Alvarez would play where KDB does. Yeah. Alvarez is the only other player than Haaland that actually does something, goals and assist wise.
Yes.
But my point
that's a lie. KDB also, but he's
so unfit.
But Alvarez throughout the whole season, you could check last season, he ticks from game 1 to game 38. Constantly contributing.
And he did very, very well at Atletico as well, doing similar.
Yeah, but the reason I don't think that it is a mistake is because at the end of the day, he was not seen as a short starter, and they make 80 million on him. The problem was the decisions that they made thereafter. You know, and it wasn't in, and it's not like to say like he was covering a position that, like KDB, who was already older and was beginning to be phased out. This is for Haaland. This is for the person who, like, he was covering both roles. I agree, but ideally, nobody was going to have Alvarez starting as KDB week in, week out. They wanted him there as cover.
Okay, but Palmer wasn't a
was
starter, and he was sold 50 million. So you can't really say it's like a
right. But
the argument, and really.
But my point is that you would have quicker have Palmer as a profile to be that type of player in the long run. You wouldn't want Alvarez playing as second striker for a whole season.
Not necessarily, because back then Palmer was specifically a winger. No one thought he could play number 10. He was specifically a winger, so we would have had the same conversation saying that Palmer should have played out there instead of Bernardo Silva.
But then that is on Pep then. That is also on Pep then.
And selling Alvarez is on Pep too.
Right, but I feel like that's convoluted two different types of conversations then. Because I say that like all that is in part of the conversation. Not having the foresight for what Palmer could have become, you know? As opposed to somebody who was...
Because it's football, though, you can't... And that's have to reject his football.
But that's part of it.
Does always get shot. Yeah.
Well, I know that.
But, like, at the point, why... Oh,
you will see.
I'd say like last season, or like okay, so they sold Palmer last season, right? Like, did that really? How badly did that impact City?
Last season, nothing. Last season, nothing.
Okay.
I agree, but
right.
I talk about
this
longer
season,
term, right? Like,
so yeah, but then like this season, they already had time to kind of look at Palmer going and say, all right, well, this is what we lost from whatever. And the point is, they didn't really. Their response to that, in essence, was getting rid of Alvarez and not replacing them. So then, is it really? Palmer being the mistake or just Pep back and forth out in the, overall, you know, like, and even if you blame Pep, it's Ziki Bergenstino, you know what? Sorry, I can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
UF who is now left. So that kind of comes on the recruitment, but I think like localizing it to Palmer is like a bit of a reach though, because like last season I'm still Palmer, I'm like, all right, cool, we draw both games against Chelsea, we lose one or whatever, but they already matter to us because we still blow in this league away.
Fair enough.
What's all the technologies for them anyway, so there's a lot of Palmer numbers going there.
That's also a fact.
Erling Haaland will never win a Ballon d'Or.
Agree.
I almost strongly agree with that. You know, I'm debating strongly agree.
Agree.
If
he didn't win it this season, they went in trouble. He's not winning it.
What else could he have done? He couldn't do anything else.
He could have qualified for the World Cup.
Okay, wait, no. I'm going disagree then. And I'm going straight on our technicality because we're saying that he will never win it. I think there's still scope for him to win it.
Okay.
But he just needs to break the Prem record again, and other players need to have bad season.
Okay.
That's kind because possible. I've seen it happen before, where a couple of the favorites had bad seasons, and then something actually, this is reaching though, because he plays for Norway too, so it's just not. I'm going back into the.
It had to be outside of a national team here. It had to be outside of like Euros and World Cup here.
It can't be this year.
Yeah, but now I feel like it have too much candidates now because what's the odds of Bellingham, Mbappe, Vinicius, Yamal, Dembele all having collectively bad season, the same season that he decide, all right, I'll score 40 goals in the Prem.
Yeah.
Career would.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a full-on reach then. So I'll go back to agree. Yeah.
At least we finally got agree. Daniel Levy is fully justified in sacking Ange.
I will dog that one. That was a tough one. And I think I agree. Because at the end of the day, you put the Champions League, the Europa League win into context. And I think it makes a lot of sense. They, like, as we mentioned, I think we've talked about this. The quality of the Europa League, with our teams dropping down, is a little more. You're getting teams from around the world, from around Europe, who spend a similar category, and then you have the English teams where their squads are made of like very expensive. That they have a lot more purchasing power than the rest of the teams, and like the teams that might spend that much don't really fall down. So there's less competition, right? Obviously, the quality is a whole other thing. Then you win the final against Manchester United, having the worst season ever. I think it's probably the best time to call it. We could look at something like Erik ten Hag's victory over City in last season's FA Cup, right? And we could draw parallels. Then we could say like, well, the right choice there was for them to get rid of Erik ten Hag, right? I think everybody kind of knew it. They didn't. He wasted half a season or whatever. And then Amorim comes in and, he doesn't get a chance to bet in his players. I mean, forget what Amorim results, but I mean, like, it's unfair on him. He doesn't get a chance to really bet in his players, bring in anybody. You recruit for a whole different manager. They bring in who else they bring in? I can't remember. Delict. And yeah, so I think is a matter of them kind of not wanted to repeat that process. I think the thing is best for both. I tweeted this as well. Like, it's better for both of them, right? It's like, now Ange can kind of go away. His stock is very high because I always win in my second season, right? Like he's that guy now. And I hope he stays in the league. I'll be real with you because I really like Ange Postecoglou. I've always been an Ange fan, even when he was being rude about the refereeing, but whatever. I think it makes sense, and I think Daniel Levy will see it as him. Like, let me not make sure because no, that could have easily just been a season where them finish 18th and had nothing. So think about it like that, right?
Yeah.
The only thing is though, I think they might end up losing some players because Ange, because I think Romero, that was a talk like Romero wanted to leave if Ange leave. So anyway, but yeah.
But
I also agree. I think it's a good time to call it. Because more from like a tactical point of view, I don't see him changing, I think he's kind of stubborn. And
Yes.
his stuff does not work. Like, whether you want to say it's just not suited for the Prem, or he doesn't have the players to make it work, whatever the case is, it does not work. He doesn't want to change it. And Spurs should not be finishing 16th, 17th, whatever they finished. Like, they still are big up. They're a top 10 club at least.
Yep.
So, yeah, I would say time to call it. Definitely. Hopefully he does stay in the league, though. He's a cool guy. But, I think it's time.
I think another thing to point out, Daniel, is the only time I ever see this man switch up his tactics was that final.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other game, he had never really halfway line chilling in this.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Shivs, the statement was Daniel Levy is fully justified in sacking Ange.
You feel the Shivs know who that man is?
I can't even hear Shivs. Shivs, you might go on, bro.
Still
Yeah,
can't
we're
hear.
still not here.
R.I.P.
You know why? It's because the conversation is about Europa League and he's a Madrid fan, so he just can't be involved.
Alright,
Okay.
Cool.
All right, nice. Yeah, I was saying I strongly disagree. I think winning the Europa League should at least buy Ange until December at least.
No, I've heard people say that, and I generally just don't see the point in it. Because then essentially you're telling me that you're willing to give him 6 months into that season, and then you'll end up writing off the season. Like, if it is that you go in it thinking that there's a high possibility this man could be sacked, that is, I just don't see the point, boy. But that is just me.
Shivs, like we were talking about that before, we were talking about like how with Ten Hag, they do the same thing effectively. He won the FA Cup, they give him 6 months and they have to rebuild, right? So like that's what I think.
Yeah,
too.
I guess.
Yeah.
Next one is Lukaku will go down as one of the greatest Serie A strikers of this century.
Strongly, the strongest possible agree.
Yeah.
How could he not?
This
How
century.
could he not?
But this century, Higuain exists in this century.
Well, one of, I'm not saying the statement is not the greatest, but one of the greatest.
Francesco Totti was in this century.
Yeah.
Insigne was in
one
this
of the
century.
greatest.
Okay, I
One of
disagree.
the-
I disagree.
I think
If
he's
I
up there.
could find 5 guys that's greater than him of this century, I don't know if he... Okay, I'll go barely disagree.
I wouldn't have people like Insigne over Lukaku. Man.
I didn't say
He's
Insigne,
not
I said
striking,
Inzaghi.
Oh, Inzaghi, I swear that's
Yeah.
Insigne.
Maybe I did.
Inzaghi.
Inzaghi was in this thing.
Eto,
Yeah.
I wouldn't really see
Zlatan.
Melito.
Zlatan. I might have Lukaku over Milito.
Lukaku's done great things though. To be fair, he won it twice.
He has it twice with two
Yeah.
different clubs.
Yeah.
Has top scored for 3 different clubs.
Most assists in the league this season too. I thought that was our
Most
stronger.
assists.
By the way,
Yeah.
like since when does it have to be his first touch, right? Like they probably just planned around that touch
Hey, y'all
and just
always
have
slander
runners
Lukaku.
off of him.
Syria fits Lukaku so well though. Just the pace of it, like
Nah,
fits him
facts.
so
Yeah.
well.
Facts. But I don't know.
What do you say,
Bro,
Chefs?
one of the greatest, boy.
I would put him in there. Yeah. I think he's ripped up this year. Like I said, won it twice with 2 different clubs. It's pretty cool. Most assists. I didn't even know he had most assists in the league this season.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
mad.
that touch,
was
that touch,
yeah.
bro. That first touch is insane. His first touch is like incisive plus. So you ping it into him and just say, kill it dead. And then he just tries and perfect through ball for.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, it'll be really interesting to go see how many of those assists they got to see was layoffs, but really was just a bad touch on somebody.
That's what I'm saying. You all don't understand.
Oh.
You just have to have McTominay ping it into him and that bouncing off that foot and perfectly falling for them other fellas.
I have a few more ones that are a bit more controversial. I will try
let's
to
do it.
pick those out real fast.
You have any
before
Barcelona
we
ones?
end.
I feel
I
enough
did, but I don't think those are. Those I don't think was really controversial. So one of them was we'll see, right? Lamine Yamal is the best 17-year-old
Agree.
ever.
Oh shit, disagree.
Disagree. Strongly disagree.
We have
Who
that
at
way.
17 do you think was doing better than Lamine Yamal?
Mbappe, Project Mbappe is a thing for a reason. How good was 17-year-old Neymar?
Yeah, that's true. I think
he was at
one
Santos, though.
Wayne Rooney though.
He was had chances, but I feel the Brazilian league had the aura back in the day when Neymar
True.
was a teenager.
True.
Nowadays, Brazilian
Name
league's
one other person in that team, Chills.
Who? Santos?
Oh, that's
Yes.
easy, man.
Don't answer. Why are you answering for him? Oh my god,
Yeah.
I was asking Chills. He was not going to
Chills,
get
that's
answer.
similar.
He was
my
not
lifelines,
going
he's
to
my
say
lifelines.
Ganso.
Oh, he's my
You know
lifeline.
he still plays? You know Ganso still
Yes,
plays?
he does still plays. And somehow
That's insane.
he apparently he faster now. I don't know how he faster now. Them days FIFA used to give 54 speed. I imagine
Because he was
that
just
midfielder.
he was pure
He's
number
ball
10. bro.
knowledge from FIFA, way.
Just
Right,
get it,
but
turn, play.
but so all you saying disagree, agree.
I disagree. I think Messi didn't have more goals at 17 than Yamal in the league.
I don't think.
Messi didn't start to play properly until he was 18. He was 17 on the bench in the Champions League final. in
I'm
2000.
gonna check real quick.
Well,
Messi.
Man,
about
this
Wayne
make it
Rooney,
to the
right?
Champions League final at 17.
Rooney's a good shot. Mbappe's a shot too, you know. Like
Yeah,
Mbappe,
obviously,
Rooney, I think might be like okay. So
These
I like
teams-
Rooney probably would be over Lamar. I think Mbappe, like winning a World Cup though, it's kind of insane. Though.
Did he
we
win
don't
that
know.
17?
He won it 18, no?
18. All right, fair.
True,
But he did mash
Mbappe
up.
won it at 18. Yeah, but he did
Ooh,
mash
that's
up the
tough,
Champions
that's
League.
tough. He did mash up the Champions
But-
League that
yeah.
year, and I'm not sure which team.
Lamar
Yeah.
did mash up the Champions League,
Yeah.
won the league, and won the Euros.
Best
Why did
17
he
year
just-
old.
That Euros, boy. I will never forgive Gareth Southgate, boy. Look what you do. He might. I think I had a lean on the that's a real tough one. Boy.
I
That's
get
a-
convinced that I'm moving over to agree.
Streets will never forget
You must
Neymar,
be-
boy. Neymar FC for life.
You must see
Disagree.
how old Messi was in this.
Nah,
Um,
but at 17, you have a good point though. I think he was a better footballer than Mbappe at 17.
Well, he's the best 16-year-old ever. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Well, Messi 20 years ago would have been 17, and that would have been the 2004-2005 season where he made 9 appearances, scoring once.
Sheesh, nah. He clear off Lamar, bro.
Yeah,
Oh.
like, this is at the front time. It's at the front
Nah,
time,
Yamal
right?
got
Like,
it, Yamal
True,
got it.
true.
I think Barcelona at that point too. They were very stuck, dog. So
Yeah.
like it's no wonder because that was Ronaldinho last season at the club. I want to say.
That's when the one.
No,
no,
I
Ron, the
think
one was
so.
the year after that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So.
So
right,
that's what I'm saying. No, it's like the front time, right? Like
yeah.
now, there
I think
was
he probably. I would
Yamal.
not agree. I would say agree.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. That's a good
Yeah.
one. This was a good one. Look, how,
This is a good
how much
question, yeah,
debate.
sorry.
Yeah.
Next one would be the other Barca one is Pedri is a worthy Ballon d'Or winner.
Oh, strongly disagree.
I
Disagree.
disagree with that one.
What are we doing?
Yeah. I'll
Disagree.
disagree with that one.
I'm not even going to elaborate. Just disagree.
Next one would be Jadon Sancho would actually suit Amarim's
Disagree.
system.
One time. Once he says suit, I didn't have to hear what he said after that. He suits nothing.
The freedom fighter, way. So, I disagree. I just think, like, call it quits, bro. It's like a toxic relationship, though. Just end it now, break up.
Another one would be Jean-Philippe Mateta is in the top 15 strikers in the world right now.
Top 15?
Any will, way.
I feel
we
he
name
could be
them.
in top 15.
Let me name them.
Alright, let's go. Is that my favorite striker? Yep, Haaland is
No.
better than him.
Haaland. Yeah, I'd say
Haaland,
Mbappe's
Mbappe.
played mostly striker this season, so yeah.
Mbappe
Lewandowski.
is better than him. Lewa.
But isn't Mbappe a better 9 than Mateta is a 9 though?
Well,
Yes.
his goal
Yes.
says yes. His goal
Yeah, but
says he
it's-
is.
Yeah,
Let's not be
great
different,
goal.
It's yes.
So,
Dembele is currently playing as a 9.
There we go.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
So,
Alvarez,
Okay.
Gyökeres,
Alvarez, Lautaro.
Lautaro. We said Gyökeres? Yep, we have someone.
yeah, yeah.
Gyökeres. I don't know if I put Gyökeres though. That's really hitters, but but yeah, we put Gyökeres.
We could take him off and we could still get 15. We could
it's
take
not about
Gyökeres
Gyökeres
off.
question. It's not about Gyökeres question, no man.
Harry Kane.
Kane, obviously.
Come on, Kane is better. Yeah. Girassi, so
Isak,
Girassi is
Isak.
better. Isak.
I just
Isaac,
say
yeah,
that
Isaac, yeah.
Gyökeres have more goals than somebody might only call it.
You know what?
Gyökeres.
No, but I talk about overall. I think what I might
We
do.
saying Gyökeres better,
I will
right?
actually agree though. I think he will be like late down in the 15 there, because I still think he might be around that. Like we name him 15
14,
strikers.
15, yeah.
You want
Maybe even say top 10.
You
No,
want
but-
yeah.
Yeah.
Would you take Mateta
No.
or you take Lautaro Martinez?
Well, you see, our recruitment is about players who young.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking if you had to choose between the two of them, who would you take?
You see, like for us, I think that that's tough in a way. But I think Mateta probably suits us better. But that's not no
Okay.
slander on Lautaro.
Shivs, if you
Yeah.
had to choose between Mateta and who's our next name? What if all just so? Besides Lautaro, because Lautaro only had like 12 goals this season. Some should play like that.
Girassi. Okay,
Nah,
not
I
him.
think
Nah,
you'll take
Lillard.
Gerassi.
Yeah, I'll take
I
I
it.
think you'll take Gerassi though, Gerassi. How did I see in here?
Alvarez.
Yeah.
Oh. Alvarez also had I
I'll
say
take
yeah. Like I
Alvarez.
think those
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
are definitely clear. Shivs, if you had to choose between Mbappe continuing to play as the 9 or Mbappe playing on the left with Mateta as your 9, what do you think?
You see, by that logic, Vinicius goes away now, boy. So I had to keep Mbappe at the 9.
Okay.
Because
But I do
you
think-
basically ask where
But
video.
I do think he's a better
Mateta.
9 than what Crystal Palace is at. I mean, like, if it is that they in Europe next season, we get to see not just him, but like him, Wharton, as a what they made out of. But I mean, right now, look, it's shaky that they might even be in Europe. So,
Nah, he's good though.
See.
He's definitely good. Yeah, he's good.
bro,
He's
he's only
good.
27 though, or 26. Like, I think like somebody could definitely move for him, and we'll see even more output from him.
Yeah, nah,
Okay,
he's good. But I feel all the Lapan thing. I feel better than him still though. Nah, I feel the lap better. I think we get robbed with the lap at just being at a poor club. But I feel the lap better than him, boy. Honestly.
Well, that might actually go good for this next one because the next one is Nico Jackson underrated.
I think he's
Underrated.
rated. I disagree. I think he's rated as he is. Though. He's an inconsistent striker.
All right, well, I'm gonna change it. Is Nico Jackson overrated?
I will agree with that.
Well, I still disagree because I think he's just rated as he is.
Yeah, I
love
don't think he's overrated.
I feel he's overrated. I hear people calling him good and using words like good.
But I don't know who you're talking to then, because everybody I'd talk to say he's not.
I think like
You
Chelsea-
clearly have not been on the pod with Brandon enough. That is what it is. You have not been on the pod with Brandon enough. That is what
No,
it
bro,
is.
I'm doing
No,
that.
to be fair, right? A lot of these things I made up here was also in mind with Brandon in it because like some of these things is controversial things I know I hear Brandon say already.
But you should tell the people. You should tell the people that I wasn't supposed to be here. In all fairness, it was supposed to be Brandon instead of me. So it does make sense, like what you're saying.
But yeah, Now, to be fair, I do think it is so Chelsea to be so harsh on Jackson to sell him and buy 2 whole new strikers. We finally get a Champions League. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Bring in 2. Like that's so Chelsea.
Yeah, but no, that's how Chelsea does roll. You know that?
It's true.
But I don't feel Jackson good at all, boy.
England.
I don't feel that man good at all.
Did I say this one? I don't think I said this one. England would only win. Oh, we're going after hour. All right, 2 more.
Go now. It's okay. We have time. We have time until the final. It's all good.
England would only win something after Harry Kane is dropped.
Strongly agree. He's a loser.
He just win.
Okay, the Bundesliga.
It's the Bundesliga. It's the Bundesliga.
No, you went in the Bundesliga with Bayern, dog. It's not like to say he went to like Dortmund or Leverkusen when he went with Bayern, dog. That's like, okay.
I agree with you that he's a loser, but it's just should have started Watkins over him in the last years.
Bro, let me tell
No,
you.
the thing is now, dog, it just don't have somebody to start. Like, me and Jordan was talking about this on the way to the trainer game, and I tell him, like, the only way Kane gets dropped is if by some miracle Delap usurps whoever they
So
buy over him.
was Jordan saying that Delap should start?
Yes, Jordan want Delap to start.
That had to be something Jordan would say. Anyway, so, look, Harry Kane is one of the best strikers in the world.
Oh no, he wasn't saying Harry Kane to start for England, eh? That is not what you said. He said he was saying Delap should start for Chelsea. And I was
Okay, yeah.
Sorry. We were talking about like who else could start in center forward over Kane for England. And like last year was the perfect time to try Watkins because like it had the momentum. He had the season. It was justified. But now it's hard to really justify starting anybody.
Let me talk. Harry Kane is one of the best strikers in the world, but he's shown on the big stage for England like 3 times, I would say, though, that he's just not like going to be the man to carry them through. Against France, though, how are you missing a penalty against Hugo Lloris? Dog, just put the ball on target, dog.
I like it.
And you'll score.
Yeah,
he overthink that one for sure.
Bro,
against
Croatia, they missed where he should have passed, right? In the semi-final in 22, that was the 18th. Then last year, it's just like again, I can't remember, dog. I can't even remember how this man Euros went. Because somebody tell me how Harry Kane's Euros went. Because I remember
England on our whole were just poor.
I think it's like
we were poor. We made the final, and then Kane. I don't think he scored too much, right? How much did he score?
I think he technically won the goal and with somebody, right?
He scored one in knockout against
Slovakia or whichever one it was.
No, that was Jude's. Over
right, so Jude scored the bicycle to put him into extra time, and then Kane scored from the kick to put him ahead.
I remember that. Right.
Okay.
So fair enough, right?
But that was his only goal.
Slovakia.
And they had to sub, and like constantly he got subbed, and for them to go on to win.
Bro, that's the thing. Like he's shown that like he can't translate like some of his ability when he gets really really tough. I think even Ollie Watkins kind of snatched his chain against the Netherlands a little bit. And then the final look, he was just chilling while everybody else was kind of just doing his thing, right? But the thing is, England kind of box themselves in a situation where he's the captain, he's like his team, and like no, I think that kind of sums up. Like it's just so that's really the tough decision to make sure. Like I would change the captain, but again,
to be fair, I think Tuchel is one of the few coaches who would make that decision if it has to be.
He don't care.
Yeah.
So that's my hope with it, but. Yeah.
I think they could see success with Kane, I think. But it's just right now. Well, the way I see it, it's like Kane need runners around him. And you don't have that right now. Like, man like Saka and thing, their strength is not running them behind. Saka needs to get the ball a lot too. Actually, their whole front four are guys that kind of want to really get on the ball. Because back then, I think Foden was starting, was it? It was like Foden.
It was Foden.
Jude and
Kane,
right?
By the time we reached the final, it was 3 at the back, and it was Jude and Foden as the 2 for him and that kind of.
Yeah, and then Saka on the right back.
And Trippier was on the next side. Like what you talk about that is such a mess. That whole thing was.
How we make the final?
But I will say now, I think
Palmer, Trent, Saka.
I feel like his time at Bayern changed his style a little bit because now he don't really.
Because in the Bundesliga you can do anything, though. When you play with Bayern.
I don't really watch Bundesliga that much, but when you take him in the Champions League, he don't drop to receive the ball near as much anymore. He's like a true number 9 now. I think the way like the profile of players that England have now, that might more suit. Because study it. If it was to compare it kind of like to the Bayern setup right now, there's no runners around him. Yeah, it's Musiala, Olise, whoever plays on the left right now. Sometimes Coleman, sometimes Gnabry.
They're trying to get Leao, so that might...
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like based off of what happened last season, and that was their most successful season with him. He was a full-on 9. He did not drop. Like, look at the Champions League games. He was not dropping. Full number 9, you know? And maybe that's what he needs to do for England if they're going to see success. Because if we're being real, he's probably not going to get dropped for England, right? But he needs to stop with the dropping deep thing.
He shouldn't get dropped. I think it's just more of like, again, it's the big moments where he hasn't stepped up, and then also, like, don't be afraid to take him off if he look like it.
Yeah.
Nah,
that's what he real. Yeah.
I did that.
Oh, I didn't say though, but I do agree with the statement at least though, that they're not going to win with him. But I think it's just down to France is too big, Spain's too big.
Fair enough.
Man United. Sorry.
Go ahead.
These are the last two that I have here. Man United are better off keeping Bruno than selling him.
How much do you think they could sell him for?
Well, they were getting apparently 70 million from Saudi before Bruno turned them down.
Well, Bruno turned them down. Okay, that's a...
Yeah.
Well, Bruno turned them down because the club told him, we don't need the money. Like, he was only going...
Well, if it
is that they needed the money and that
I feel they need that money
for them. I feel they need that money.
I feel they need more money. I think that's the only way I will agree is because of the financial thing. Without that, like, he's the man who's keep them afloat, though. So.
Yeah, I go and disagree. I don't think 70 million is enough to...
I think they could get more for him, probably.
They could get like 100 million from Saudi.
Yeah, in this market, they get a lot more than 70.
Yeah, but with Saudi, it just don't make sense. Like, you could call anything and be like, yeah, that makes sense for Saudi.
Unless you're Osimhen.
Osimhen,
Yeah.
I go and disagree.
I'll go disagree as well, yeah.
Same, disagree.
Strongly disagree. If all say I disagree, I mean, all I think they should sell him, man.
Oh, then I agree.
I agree.
Sorry.
Yeah, because I said Man United are better off keeping Bruno Fernandes.
Then I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I
think so.
And the last one is Arsenal made a mistake going for Sesko over Gyökeres.
Disagree.
I
like Sesko.
I think Gyökeres is him.
Yeah, but can we trust Shiv's opinion, though?
So you agree? Well, Shiv's is only watch Champions League. So he see when Gyökeres mash up Simpson, Pussy, and
but then he watched when Benjamin Sesko let it go on Gyökeres' head this season.
That's true. Shiv's only like the celebration, right?
I like the celebration.
The argument there is he has aura.
he does. Though did he scored last
week? What does mean aura?
Bro, I think Sesko. So I me and John talk about this. I think like Sesko for a good price, like which is not the price is being told, is a good signing. Well, could be a good signing because I think like he is a nice profile. He's an athletic guy who's not afraid to try and shoot, and he have amazing ball striking. I think the problem is he's very 0 to 100. Think like kind of Darwin Nunez right now, like where he just like sometimes you're like, how did you miss that, dog? That's one thing. But he's young. He has time on his side. I think with Gyökeres, dog. So the thing is with me, and this might sound like a little bit of a cop-out. So one is, first of all, like a lot of his goals are offense. Secondly, I think that the fact that like no other team has kind of moved for him, that's like something is had to be wrong that maybe people of my ilk can't see. I haven't watched like Liga Attack or whatever in Portugal every flicking game week, right? But the fact that like none of these teams
you don't
are
watch
kind
Rio
of
Ave, bro.
Bro, I didn't realize watches Ferdinand when he unfortunately have to commentate on a game as beat. Yeah. So, dog, like I think
just as I say that, Rio Ferdinand posted his Mount Rushmore.
With 6 men?
Bro, there's like 8 men. Yeah.
Like,
bro, when I tell you, like, I literally, dog, this man, I don't understand how people like this listen to. Anyway, But yeah, like I think for Gyökeres, boy, it's just like again, age is one thing. I think he's right now obviously a better player than Sesko. I think long term though, if you get Sesko for similar money, you might want to take that punt just because. I think from an Arsenal perspective, though, like Gyökeres might be the settled man who comes in, but I was telling John about this as well. But something I was reading, I watched a podcast recently. You all know who Ian Graham is, right? Dr. Ian Graham. He was kind of the data guys behind Liverpool's like club revolution. So he's the guy who kind of advised on signing Salah, all of these players. He was kind of talking, and he said they will always go for the player 24 under because they haven't been playing their best football yet. They're very coachable, and if they don't succeed, there's a high chance that you could turn the value around and make a profit or sell for like a high price, right? And that's why I think like maybe Gyökeres is kind of falling short. His release because like he's how old is Gyökeres right now?
27.
27, right? So 27 is kind of the age where after that, it kind of your price is gonna kind of go down. So I think they like Sesko has that kind of unique like, all right, well, he has a lot of time on his side, a good profile, a good base to build on. Give that one. I know a lot of people flame me because I'm like a Sesko believer to some extent. I just don't agree with the price. But yeah, I would say I agree that Sesko is probably the best. What was the question again?
It was that Arsenal made a mistake. Well, it looks like Sesko is going to be the one that Arsenal get, right? And those were the two names. So the statement was that Arsenal made a mistake going for Sesko over
I would disagree. I would lightly disagree.
I don't know, bro. I don't think it should be either of them, but...
that was the two names. That was the two names that have been like the absolute most. More than anybody else.
Nah, I feel that. And I'm purely neutral.
Now, if you introduce Mateta to the conversation...
God damn, bro.
So if you say Mateta against Gyökeres, then Mateta is the choice.
Which I think, I agree with you, right? But that says so much about how we opinionated over Gyökeres, right? Who has 90 whatever goals in his 3 seasons there at Sporting, right? Which
maybe I just have Darwin trauma from the Portuguese league.
Yeah, because the Portuguese league, the exports are hit or misses.
Yeah. Nah, the Gyökeres thing kind of gone flat, I find. Is that like
again? I think it has to be something that like there's no way that all these top clubs who need a striker haven't seen something like, or there's no problem there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If United go and sign him, we see something like they was right.
Look, sometimes gems go miss though, because look how long it took for a man like Grimaldo to get a move, and we see his quality now.
Yeah.
We used to have the same conversation back then. It was like, yo, season after season after season, no one's picking him up, or there must be something there. Till someone finally picked him up, and then we realized, okay, he's actually, he's good. He could hang. Anyway, beside the point. To go based off of the question, I'll just go barely agree then. Because, Sesko could probably be a little bit better for Arsenal than Gyökeres. But ultimately, I think that's just the total wrong profile still. Arsenal is, the way they play, they're always going to need a striker that can help them in build-up still. And those guys aren't that profile really. Like, I think they should look more... If you want a big guy, then you go for the Guirassy, that type of mold. Maybe not him, because I fed up saying his name. And then if you just want full-on brilliance, and you want to sacrifice physicality, then you need the Alvarez mold. But regardless, you need guys that can help him build up too, and still score, which is harder to find, obviously. But yeah, that's why I think their profile should be more of that. And there's a reason why it's been guys like Havertz and Marino and stuff that have been playing their striker and seeing the most success, because they could help him. Yeah, they could help him build up, and then they could help finish the chances as well. They're just not like brilliant finishers. So you need someone that could finish like an actual number 9 that can help in the build-up rather than the other way around. I realize Arteta does more go for someone that can help in the build-up well and then hopefully finish. It needs to be the finishing first, and then, but that build-up we can't figure about that. Can't figure about that part.
I'm not sure how good Sesko is in the build-up, so that's a whole other thing.
He's not very good in the build-up. I could tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
He's not. And he's a decent finisher, but it could end up being poor for him too, because
he's very hit or miss way. But the thing is, I think he's more coachable than Gyökeres just because of his age, and then like they have
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, so that's the next thing.
I'll agree with that. But he could almost put himself up for failure. I don't think he's ready to move to a big club as yet.
I don't think so. I think maybe
Or
one
last
season.
season,
I think
yeah.
it should be neither, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel so.
I do realize I do have one more here.
Hit
But
with
this was
hit with
more
one time.
targeted. Once again, this was more targeted with Brandon Rajiv Salik being on the spot, right? And it's
What
also
could I
something
say
that
on
he
this?
told me in person last week. So I kind of wanted to put him on his spot here, but Antoine Griezmann is overrated.
Disagree.
He said that?
Disagree.
Right?
Strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree.
Okay. What do people rate him as? If we're going
I
to
think
say
he's an all-time
overrated,
over.
we need to know where he is.
I think he's all time.
You would say he's
Nah, I
With
disagree
no
with the
club
statement,
trophies.
but I'm just saying.
What no trophies though? The man won a little
Yeah, but you know,
Copa
Brandon,
del Rey I show.
stick on
he
that.
did not. He did not.
That's real actually embarrassing now I think about it. But
He
Well,
didn't
I
do
mean-
anything at all.
that
he has
was
a
the
World
World
Cup, though.
Cup, boy.
That's what I'm saying. He
Right.
has a
The
World Cup.
man, right, but yes, so would it just the World Cup is enough to be all time, huh?
I would argue he had a really good Euro
The way he
2016
did it,
campaign as
though.
well.
True.
I would argue that the World Cup was worse than the one that he win was worse than the other three tournaments that he performed in.
First of all,
Okay,
man
I'll hear
has
that
won
because. Sorry, go ahead.
the
Because
trophies,
the 2 Euros was real good, and the World Cup
Yeah, the World Cup with
2022
Argentina was insane.
was
Yeah.
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 Nah, 100%.
Compared to-
100%.
He was
Compared
very
to
good
what-
in 2018, huh?
He was,
Yeah,
he was
but
good
that's
at
what this
2018.
counts
And
was-
he's won Europa, he's won the Super Cup, he's won the Super Copa, he's won the Copa del Rey. So
Is Kane an all-timer? Because then with Brandon logic, he will have to not be, right?
true.
Up until a month ago.
The thing is, I think maybe as
But to
somebody,
be fair, part of the Kane question I had here was, does winning the Bundesliga save Kane legacy?
nope.
No, no.
Maybe if you had gone
But you know
to
what, Warren,
Braunschweig and won it, then yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you hear me when I say that the part of the Kane question was
Yeah.
that by winning the Bundesliga, he saved his legacy.
Nah,
Yeah,
we all
absolutely
disagreed with
not.
that.
We disagreed with that one, yeah.
It kind of come like they see. So the dog, you see, like the opposite is Son legacy
Oh, it's
triple.
right. Yes, right. But as what's in the club, right? That makes
No,
it a
I think
club legend.
Son,
Like,
dog,
dog.
Son goes down as an Asian in terms of Asian players, in terms of all time. Dog, people look back and say Son is a man. I think he kind of, in a sense, overtaking as
Right.
the face of the
Yeah,
club
but
in the
bro.
modern era, you know.
Kinda.
Well, I had one of them that I had right dog that I delete was that if Son was a bigger Spurs legend than Kane, you know.
He is.
But
Dog, for me,
Right, he won a trophy for them.
this man,
No, and
dog,
the thing
Son
is,
could have left. Son could have left.
Yeah,
bro.
but
Son
you want-
could be
you
playing
want-
for us
you
right
want-
now.
But this is the point, right? Like people being legends and all timers is all based on what they did and the circumstances they did, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Kane winning the Bundesliga. The reason that it doesn't look as good is because his first season that he went was the first time they lost it, you know?
Yo, that's
they were
crazy, you know?
right?
That's
No, right. And then now
hilarious,
Son, dog, nobody's going to care about the fact that Son had all these trophy last seasons because he was part of the team that ended on their 20-year trophy drought. So, like,
And we
that-
have madness.
that-
We have
that-
madness here. Right? The last 20 years, name one Bayern player who hasn't won the Bundesliga.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it had to be somebody who was only there last year for for that season. God,
Who's
You
that?
know?
Sasha Bowie?
only.
What a
But
player,
like-
though.
No, but then no, when we talk about
Yeah, somebody see
Griezmann,
if he have one.
you know, the thing that Brandon was talking about is like when you watch how many
Nah,
finals,
boy, he went in this
God,
He's still there?
Yeah, he went in this
Incredible.
What?
Mazraoui.
what,
Nah, Mazraoui, how about this?
Nah.
I'm fairly sure.
I think he was
How
there
long
the
has
year
he been
before.
there?
I think he
Damn
was
it.
there the year before. But
Okay, guys, I think
but-
was,
but like-
was that is Peruvian
Guys.
player. I used to play for them, way.
guys, what Brandon was
That
saying
way.
though is like, you know, like he's been to so many finals and didn't win now. You know, like
Mhm.
he lost the World Cup final, the whole 2016 year, which is bad for him. When he went to the Champions League final, missed the pen, went to the Euros, missed and lost the final as well, and never won a league title in his entire club career.
Right,
No
so
Champions
let
League.
me go back on something. You know why I said he's all time? I think that just for me, I like to watch Anton Griezmann play because I think he's one of the most intelligent, like game intelligent players you'll ever see. Like just the way he kind of knows how to do the right thing besides win a trophy, obviously. But maybe not really all the time. But he might go down as like a definitely I think like a Spanish football like legend. I would
Cult
say.
hero, I would say more cult
Yeah,
hero.
like I don't know. I feel like he's above
Actually,
a cult hero.
not cult hero, yeah, because cult hero like
Yeah.
not
Like-
a trophy fail.
Yeah, but hear this,
Awesome.
right? Just to be fair, right? If it is like we criticize Kane about, that he had to leave Spurs to go win a trophy, and then when he first here, Griezmann do the same thing though, eh?
Look, Griezmann's still
Griezmann
winning-
left-
still winning three trophies.
Griezmann left Atletico to go Barca, and Barca didn't win nothing for them two. They win the league for them
Yeah.
2 years,
Yeah.
and then he had gone back Atletico, and as he reached back Atletico,
Barca.
Barca win the league again.
He still won trophies though. That's the thing. He won Europa League. He won whatever. Like I still think for a team of Atletico scale, like, that's a real big deal. Like winning a Europa League.
No,
I know we
but
kind
then
of
no,
conditioned,
but then
though.
no. When it says that he left Atletico,
Right.
Atletico won the league. So like,
You see, so
All
I think the
that-
act of him moving to Barcelona is probably one of the biggest stains on his Atletico thing. That's probably the only thing. But
Yeah.
like overall, from like a footballer perspective, I think he'll go down as
Yeah.
like
I
like
have
definitely
yeah,
not more than
but-
a streets will not forget kind of player. Yeah.
I have a hard
Yeah.
time. I have a hard time saying someone with his talent is not an all timer. Cause
Yeah.
like again, let's like I understand trophies is a good measurement of where your career went, but 11 guys play at the same time. You
Yeah.
can understand what there's only so much you can do at the same time, but his talent is too high. He has to be a legend of the game, and he
Yeah, I
won a
think-
World Cup still, being
Yeah.
one of the best players at the. So
He was one of the best players, yeah, for sure. And
Um,
dog, 2 World Cup finals, a Euros final, like dog, the man have a legacy.
yeah.
bro. Oh wait, this game
Couple
started.
Champions League
Oh.
finals too.
So we obviously gone over the time that I wanted to, right? But we done here. I don't have any more, but what I'll do now before we close, and in the next 6.5 minutes that we have here, that if you guys have any hear me outs y'all want to throw to the group, each one of you could throw out one, and we'll
Yeah.
close.
That's just what kind of him, yo.
I could have prepared one.
But it's up to you all if you all want to throw out anything. If not, we can close it there.
Bro. So honestly, I had to think on this one, but like the game start now, way.
Okay, well then we can leave it there.
I think
I think it's a good place to leave it.
All right, guys. Well, I think this was. Well, I think the team did enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoyed it too.
Yeah, it was very
And
good.
we will do more of these. I don't know what else that we have some other ideas as well to keep you guys occupied throughout the summer. So we hope you enjoy, and catch you guys next time. See you soon. Take it easy later.
Have a good